Absolutely.
Hey there, everybody. I wanted to introduce you to a very sweet man, a friend of mine out in California. His name is Steve Ordurno, and he is a pastor and someone that I met recently in the financial services industry. And Steve, can you just go ahead and introduce yourself for starters?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, first of all, good morning or afternoon or wherever you happen to be in the world today. My name is Steve Ordurno. I'm entering my 46th, almost 47th year of being a pastor. When I came home from the war in Southeast Asia, I was lost. I was truly lost, but I knew I wanted a happy marriage. And so one of the things that I went looking for, not that he was lost, I went looking for Jesus because I was lost. So that led into me eventually going to seminary, eventually being a pastor for all these years, teaching, etc. Along the way, I've been what some people may call a bivocational minister or a tent maker. I've always allowed myself to work something aside or beside so that dollars did not dictate where I served. So that's how I found myself in the financial services industry almost 40 years ago. I've been a real estate broker, a lender. I worked with the New York Stock Exchange company, building and leading teams, because it's part of who I am anyway. I develop people as a pastor.
Thank you for sharing that. And I have to just add, the way that I really got to know Steve was his heart. He and Cheryl, his wife, reached out to me because, as many of you know, my daughter just started her third year in college. And so I'm an empty nester. And it's a very hard transition, especially after the COVID lockdown and having her home for an extended period of time. It was like another loss, having to let go again. And Steve and Cheryl reached out to me and prayed with me and prayed for me and just really touched my heart. So we have this awesome friendship that has grown through that time, as well as a business relationship. So I want to thank you both for that.
Absolutely.
But what we wanted to talk to you today about is in the area of finances, which we all know is very important for many reasons. It affects your relationships. It affects your ability to be a good steward of what the Lord has given you. It affects your financial future of your family and generations to come. And so I wanted Steve to kind of just tell you his personal experience with this financial GPS that we both represent, and we love the family of business that we have, and we love that this tool that we have. And Steve, you've had a really great experience with it. So can you just share your personal experience?
Absolutely. I bought my first brand new home when I was 20 years old, believe it or not, a month before my 21st birthday. But entering into the ministry, we left that home behind. We traveled far and wide throughout the United States, throughout the world, to other continents, and we served. And so when I bought this home, which I presently am sitting in, it was 20 years ago. And we said, wow, 20 years ago, I was only 49 years old. I remember 49, just a little bit. But 49 years ago, and I thought, wow, we're going to pay that thing off one day. Only problem is the rates came down. I says, oh, gee, I had to get a new loan so I can lower my rate, so I can have a better interest rate. And so I did just that. So when I was introduced to this program and recently began utilizing it in earnest, I still had 22 and a half years left. 22 and a half years. I'm 69 years old. Who loans money to people that old, 22 and a half years, I'm going to be 92 years old. And I thought to myself, my plan for being debt-free went out the window. Now, I still had a debt-free plan for my wife. And that was real simple. She would be debt-free, but only after I died because I had life insurance. So I wouldn't get to enjoy that with her. I wouldn't get to enjoy these golden years, walking down the beaches, traveling, going back to Texas to meet my new friend Joni in person, eyeball to eyeball. I wouldn't have a chance to do that. So this program, I put in my numbers. Now, I have to be honest with you. There's a lot of programs in the faith community that have helped people get out of debt. And I looked at those, and I have some very good friends that are facilitators or coaches or whatever you call them. And what I discovered is they were working in a smartphone world with a flip phone. That was my estimation. So I took a yellow pad out, and I'm pretty good with numbers. Man, look at me. I'm going to pay this thing off. I have worked hard. Now, it did mean that we were going to not be doing a lot of things because I needed the money to pay down the loans, and it meant that we weren't going to do a lot of traveling. We weren't going to have a lot of things. So I got it down to, I think, about 12 years, and I was so proud of myself. And then this came, and I felt like there's no way. There's no way. They ran my numbers. By the way, there's a free analysis that is given by any agent of our company. Joni's an agent. I have to be honest, I myself also am an agent, and we'd be happy to run your numbers. It's just free. And whether or not you do business with us, you're our beloved friend. Now, we think you ought to at least take a look before you make a decision. But here's what happened to me. My 22 and a half went to about 12.3 with my numbers. I'm at 3 years before I'll be out of debt. 3 years. I don't know if I can adequately share with you what's inside of me to know that in 3 years I will be debt free. In 3 years I won't have to get up wondering, if I have enough money, if I have to do this, I have to do that. My wife and I are going to be married 50 years this December, and all I want to do is spend time with my best friend and continue to help people to get this yoke, this burden of debt off of their neck. So I can't even tell you the thousands and thousands of dollars in interest it's going to save me. Over $90,000 I won't have to repay that we can keep in our pocket. So my experience, I don't know how to describe it. It's out of this world, Joni.
Yeah. And so, Steve, the biggest question that people ask me is, okay, I don't understand. How does it work? How does it work without throwing extra principal at the mortgage or the credit cards or the auto loans, whatever it is that people are burdened with, because everybody debt comes in all different formats, right? And there's a lot of great concepts and strategies that we've learned in these different programs that you're talking about in different books. And they are just that, right? Programs and strategy. But what we're talking about is math. And it is a 26-page algorithm with almost $20 million invested in it. Just like I can't explain how the GPS on my phone works, I can't explain how the financial GPS works, but I do understand that math is very accurate and that there's a lot of banking principles that the bank has used against us for years, like interest cancellation, interest float, strategic payoff, and that good old arbitrage, right, where they use our money that's sitting in the bank at 0% interest rate for them. They help themselves to it. And then on the back end, they're charging us, they tell us 3% on that mortgage, but really it's more like 60, 70, 80% interest volume. So what do you say to people, Steve? Because everybody is skeptical, as they should be. But I, like you, I think a lot of eyes on the scales have been removed during this period of time of COVID, especially about a lot of different things, about the fact that our economy is more fragile than we thought, about the debt that we are carrying is more burdensome than we had already realized. How do you get people past the hurdle of coming to you and saying, okay, I'm ready for that free analysis? They're skeptical though. What do you say to get them past that point?
Well, one of the things, of course, I use the illustration you use. A lot of people have told me that they just don't use things they don't understand. And I can appreciate that. There's a lot of things I don't understand. I am not mechanically inclined. I'm just not. I know that if I put a key by the steering column and turn it, my car will start. Mm-hmm. I know if I put it in reverse, I'll go out of the driveway. Put it in, forward or in drive, I'll come through the bedroom window. Okay, I know that. Okay. So I'm not bright, but how it works, how an internal combustion engine works, all that stuff I don't know. The phone is a great illustration. There's a lot of things I don't understand in life. And, certainly, women don't understand men. They don't. Men don't understand women. Okay. But you know what? Together, we can get through this present life. And here's what I've discovered about this program. It's not a dead program. And what I mean by that, a dead program, I have a calculator on my phone, probably in my desk somewhere, and it's dead. It's not dynamic. It's not alive. It can't see. What it can see is what we're doing today and what's in the past. What it can't see is what's in the future. How is my accumulation of things, which we need to be careful of, but something perhaps that we need going to affect my debt-free date.
Mhm.
And it gives me the ability as a financial GPS to make wise decisions. Sure, I want this or that, whatever this or that might be. But is this or that going to be worth tagging an additional 4 years of debt repayment time onto that? Or do I want to instead get out of debt? Perhaps not buy a new trailer. Maybe I need to buy a used trailer. And all those kind of decisions. So when people tell me they don't understand, I never argue with them. I says, me either.
Wow.
I don't understand. And as a pastor, and I hope you understand this, and hope I'm not being offensive to anybody, I don't even understand how the Holy Spirit works. I know he does.
Right.
I know he does. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to take advantage of my relationship with him. I am going to take advantage, and I'm going to pray. And when I run out of words, it says that he'll take over for me. So, there's a lot of things I don't understand. So I never argue with people. I said, I don't understand either.
Right.
It's mathematics.
Some people just won't take a look, but we want to just extend the offer, right?
Yes.
And people who know me, know that a few things that are important to me, and that's my faith, my freedom, my family, fitness. I've been in the fitness industry for many years, and finances. I hate debt. Praise God, I am debt free. And I'm hoping and praying that we can get the message out to more people so that they can become debt free. Can you say a little bit more about your background? I know, you're a man of the Lord. I love that. But you also bring a more diversified background. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, just a little bit, folks. I use a word a lot, and sometimes people are offended by it. So I give definition to it or remind them of the definition they already know. And that's the word ignorant. I'm ignorant in some things. There's some things I'm ignorant. And all the word simply means is without knowledge.
Right.
I remember, folks, for those of you part of the faith community, I remember the first time I stood up in seminary and I preached a lesson and I said this. Somebody somewhere said, greater love hath no man for a friend than this, than the late. I didn't know Jesus said that. I had a pew Bible. I was a new Christian. So I was ignorant, not in a bad sense. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things people are ignorant of. They are ignorant of how money works.
Right.
I was ignorant as a young man that, okay, so I got a new truck, a new motorcycle, a new camper, a new car for the wife, and a brand new house. I didn't know I had to pay. No, I know how to pay for it.
They don't really they give you this nice little payment, right?
That's what I did. Can I afford the payment? And I don't want to make you folks feel bad, but when I bought that first brand new house, I literally cried when they raised my house payment. Brand new house, California, from $201 to $204 a month, because I don't know how I was going to come up with the extra $3. So I know it's a long time ago. That's not even a car payment today. But the fact of the matter is, I had to educate myself. When I came home from the service, I went back to college. We used to have to, I studied COBOL, Fortran. I had a basic C, and we had a computer course. We had to take key punch cards down to a programmer, and he ran it through. And what I ran was my mortgage. I said, oh my goodness, I'm going to pay twice as much. That's when I began to educate myself. Mm-hmm. One of the other things I educated myself, being a pastor, my retirement benefits are out of this world. Okay, that's where they are. Okay. But PG&E, our utilities out here, they want money.
Right.
The grocery store wants money. And so I began to look at what's going to happen when, the church looks for a 28-year-old with 60 years of experience and is as wise as a 75-year-old. There's going to come a day, but perhaps I can't do what I do. I enjoy it. I'll always do it. I'll probably drop dead doing it. But the fact of the matter is we need retirement. So I started to look at retirement vehicles. How is that I can do that? And I discovered that I could get more insurance for my dollar than I was getting. And then as time progressed and some of the design of the products, you know what? I can get tax-free retirement today. Tax-free retirement. And I go, are you kidding me? So I began to do that. When I was dealing in home mortgages, I learned that, yeah, sure, you're going to give me a lower rate, and you're going to tell me it's going to cost me nothing. What I learned was, yeah, right. We're paying extra money. They're just packing it into the loan.
Right.
I didn't know that. There's a lot of things I didn't know. So what I'm saying to you is when a friend like Joni comes to you and seeks to give you information, it's not because she's a salesperson. Really, it isn't. And I come to love Joni very deeply. It's not because she's a salesperson. It's because she cares about you. She has perhaps fallen into a pothole, as I have, and she doesn't want you to go there. She wants to warn you of some of the things that are ahead of you. She wants to give you information so that your life can be better. That's what I want to do, folks. We want to do that. I want to get past that. We're trying to sell you something idea. We're trying to take you from the land of ignorance to the land of knowledge. That's all we're trying to do.
Steve, that brings up something that I wanted to ask you about that I have not asked you about yet. The proverb that talks about how we should not be the slave to the lender. After getting involved in financial services, I really started to dig in and study, okay, what is the Lord trying to say to us? And my understanding of that always had been, we should never be in debt. But as I studied, I found out that that might not be accurate, that really the Lord is laying out rules for the lender that he should recognize that the borrower is somewhat of a slave until they are paid off, and to not take advantage of that relationship. And so what I have dug in is that the banks are just bleeding Americans, and that they've kind of trained us to think. I talk to people on the phone, Steve, and they're like, but my mortgage is 3% and I can refinance for 2.5. And they're just increasing and resetting that debt clock, and they're not understanding. What do you think the Lord was trying to say with that proverb?
Well, number one, and this is going to sound really kind of crazy. There's good debt and there's bad debt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there is. I happen to use credit cards to track my expenses. Mm-hmm. I am very, very anal, always laboring for smaller congregations, always having to watch my dollar. I always did. If I go to the post office and buy a postage stamp, I come home and put it in my computer that I spent 55 cents or whatever it is. I'm crazy. I'm crazy. Okay. I know that. But the fact of the matter is I've got to watch my pennies so that my dollars may increase. Mm-hmm. Now, very few people will be able to get into a home without acquiring a mortgage. Now, there may be some. Okay. So is that making you a borrower and in debt to the lender? In a way it does. But the way that I've always rectified that in my mind, as long as I keep up with a contract which has been prescribed from me, from the lender, I'm not in debt to him. Mm-hmm. I sit there and I make the payment. Now, would I rather be completely out of debt to him? Absolutely. And here's what I discovered. One day I got my statement from my house payment. And I'm just going to make up numbers, but let's say the payment was $1,199. And I looked and it said 2 principal and 2 interest. Do you know I paid like less than $2 to my principal? So what was a true interest rate? What was a true interest rate when almost $1,197 was going to my interest? And so I began to understand that I could send a little bit, or at least that's what I thought. I could send a little bit extra. Or I could maybe I could send twice a month my payment. That was another thing that happened, mm-hmm. where I could just pull a number out of the sky and say, I'm going to send $55 extra. But here's what this active dynamic financial GPS does. It will tell us the exact number, the exact date, the exact account to which to send our number. And some of them, I'm going to be honest with you, they look a little crazy. They'll say something like, send $181.39 extra to your car payment. Where'd you get that number from? I'm just going to round it up to 185. No, I'm going to round it down to 180. No, it knows what it's doing. So here's the thing. I don't want to be a slave to the lender. So for most of us today, there's some exceptions. We can't write a check and pay off our mortgage.
Right. We need to leverage.
We need to leverage it. But here's the great thing. Is we have friends like Joni and others who are working with us who can tell you how to get rid of that debt in the shortest time possible. I was speaking with a pastor Sunday night, and he had, I'm going to call it dead money. I says, why is all that money sitting in the bank? He goes, I don't know, makes me feel good. I says, okay, that's fine. I said, let me ask you a question. What would make you feel good? Having that dead money, maybe even put it in your mattress? Or would it make you feel better taking your debt repayment time down from 29.7 years to 4.3? Which is going to make you feel better?
Right.
He just got real quiet and looked at me. He goes, what do you mean? I says, let's run your numbers and let's see. And that's exactly what it was. You know, folks, listen, it's okay. Now, don't get in debt buying things that you don't need to impress people that you don't know. Don't do that. You don't need that. You know, how many of us have done this? And I've done it. I've done it. I'm just going to be honest with you. Gone to a store and you saw something that you wanted, maybe electronics, maybe clothing, maybe shoes, okay? Oh, maybe boots, okay? You've got your credit card and you think, look at that. Man, it's 20% off today. I've got to get that, but I don't have money, but I have a credit card.
Right.
Not realizing the true cost of what you just did and how much it's really going to cost you once they accumulate interest and you make those minimum payments if that's what you do. See, I got into debt. Let me tell you what, you know you're in trouble when you borrow from Visa to pay MasterCard. And then the next month you borrow from MasterCard to pay Visa. Right. I got in trouble. I really did. I was overwhelmed. And my prayer was, Lord, if you will take me out of the land of debt, I promise I'll never come back here ever again. And so if I can do this, I have a hot tub in my backyard. Went to the county fair. They had kind of a display. How much is that hot tub? Can't afford it. Is it on sale? No. Okay, can't afford it. Next year I went back. I says, is that on sale? He goes, no, it's not on sale. I said, can't afford it. Went back the third year, and before I could get to him, he says, it's not on sale. And I go, that's okay. I saved the money to pay cash. Okay? You've got to put off sometimes the things that you desire in order for you to get that yoke off of your neck.
Right.
You know, you may desire a brand new Rubicon Jeep, but there's really nothing matter with the car that you're driving.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve, for that. That's good advice. But really what we're talking about is not changing your standard of living.
That's right.
Not refinancing, not getting your credit checked. We are simply talking about utilizing the banking principles that the bank is utilizing right now on the money you have sitting in your checking and savings, and using every single penny and letting the financial GPS cancel as much interest as possible. In most cases that we're seeing, Steve, we're seeing tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest canceled, right? And people paying off their debt in as little as 1/2 to 1/3 the time without even putting extra payments toward it. And then,
Joni, I certainly don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm interrupting you.
Go right ahead.
Joni, I think the thing that captured me was just what you said. No refinancing, no debt consolidation, but the one that really touched my heart was no change in lifestyle.
Yes.
My grandchildren, and I have 8 of them, don't live close by me. And so we travel to see them, okay? When we travel to see them, guess what? It costs money.
Yeah.
It does. I'm sorry, it just costs money. Whether we're gonna stop and have something to eat on the road, or whether we're gonna fly by plane or drive, it costs money. I did not want to be in a situation where a program said, look, we're going to get you out of debt, but, forget about visiting your grandchildren for the next 3-4 years. Right. You're going to have to use that money towards your debt. Or we're going to get you out of debt, but that date you have with your wife once a week, and believe me, I don't spend this kind of money, but just as an illustration, that $100 date that you have a week, forget about that. Forget about that. You just can't do it. Now, just to clarify, when we went, my son-in-law took us to Hawaii. There was 22 of us. And I told them, and they wouldn't let me pay anything. So I told them I was all going to take them all out to dinner. My daughter says, Dad, do you know how much it costs to go to dinner? I said, yeah. And she goes, you can't afford that? I said, what do you mean? I said, there's 3 Costco's on the island. Dog and a Coke, dog and a Coke, dog and a Coke. You ain't been good, go get free samples. Okay. So I'm cheap. Okay. No, not really. But you know what I can do with this financial GPS? I can say, you know what? we're going to go next summer. We're going to rent a cabin in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, whatever, right? And it's going to cost X. I can put the cost of that, project it into my financial GPS, and it will tell me how it's going to impact me and my finances and my debt-free date. And I may find that I can't do a spring trip. I may have to do a fall trip. It may have to have snow outside. I don't know, but I can plan. That's the great thing. And I don't have to stop doing things.
Right.
Very good observation.
And so it shows you the cause and the effect before you even make that decision, right?
That's right.
Wow, that's so cool. Well, we could literally go on all day.
I could with you.
I know. We could with you. But we're going to go ahead, and I guess we should probably wrap it up and just let the friends that are looking at this know that they can come to you and ask for that complimentary no obligation analysis, or come to me for that complimentary no obligation analysis, or any of their friends that are showing them this video that may be associated with us, and just take a look. We're not saying debt is bad. We know people need to leverage money. It is a smart thing to leverage money, but the banks have duped us for years. And it's just like, since what, the 50s that people have really been.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, it hasn't been forever and ever that we've.
No. The generation before us never got into debt the way we get into debt.
And
This is ridiculous.
like they are now. And neither were credit cards. They only have the Diners Club card.
That's right. And that was made out of cardboard.
Yeah.
May I say one thing, please, folks?
Please do.
I've been introduced as, and have claimed that introduction as, a pastor. My big fear, this is my fear, if you will, I live with this daily, is that when the Lord decides our time is up, and my neighbor walks up to me and he says, "Hey, you met me every single day. We talked about politics. We talked about football. We talked about baseball. We talked about everything in the world, but you never mentioned him to me. What am I going to feel like?" Now, with that being said, I'm going to bring it on over to the business side. If I allow my friends to drown in debt and never mention this program to them, what kind of a friend am I really? What kind of a friend am I really? So please allow me, without being offended, allow Joni, without you being offended, to mention it to you, to run your free analysis. And when everything's said and done, we're still going to be friends. We really will. We promise you that. We will not sever our relationship because you decide not to go forward. But we will never have to hear you say, "Why didn't you tell me, Joni? I didn't know there was a program like this." So I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense for me.
Makes sense for me too, Steve. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you and your friendship, and Cheryl, and I look forward to getting out to California and meeting y'all.
God bless you. God bless you all. And Joni's bedroom's right here for her and her daughter when she comes out to California. God bless you all. Thank you for your time and for listening to us this morning.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.